Here we are in Sunbury, Josh Bull's office, at this criminal's office here. He's a state member for the State Parliament of Victoria for Sunbury, for the Sunbury district. Now, this criminal here, we're issuing an arrest warrant for him today, Josh Bull, and the reason is he's one of the politicians in the Victorian State Parliament who really deserves to go to prison, and all the other Labor state politicians in Victoria. Because what they're doing and also, Liberal politicians, any politicians that don't speak out about the issue that I'm about to tell you about, really should be hunted down by the police and the people to be jailed. And the arrest warrant is being issued today for Josh Bull. It's for the Bacchus Marsh situation. Now, what these politicians have done is so criminal, you just wouldn't believe. But after I give you the evidence, you will be absolutely horrified about what they've done. Okay, they've gone down. What they've done is a whole lot of industrial toxic waste, an industrial chemical toxic soil that's going to be dumped at Bacchus Marsh, and that's industrial chemical PFAS, polyfluoroalkyl substances. It's in the toxic soil from the Westgate Bridge project, and for over a year, from March 2020 the state politicians, including this one, Josh Bull, they decided to dump up to roughly 500 tonnes of toxic soil with this dangerous industrial chemical PFAS, polyfluoroalkyl substances, up to 500 tonnes of it, up to 500 truckloads of it to dump it in this area, in this Sunbury area in Bacchus Marsh. Now, that toxic chemical, the industrial chemical PFAS, it causes all sorts of problems, particularly for humans and animals and agriculture, specifically for pregnant women. It causes defects in pregnant women, the unborn baby of pregnant women, and also all sorts of problems with blood. It causes blood diseases and thrombosis and other diseases in humans. And it attacks the organs and liver and other organs of. It attacks the liver and other organs of animals for agriculture. Now, that in itself is criminal, of course. Deciding to dump all this toxic soil with this dangerous industrial chemical PFAS, up to 500 truckloads of it. That in itself is dangerous. They want to dump it in a coal mine in Bacchus Marsh. Now, they've been planning to do this for over 12 months. It started March of 2020. There was 1,000 people from Bacchus Marsh and surrounding areas, Sunbury and these surrounding areas, that went down to the Parliament House in March of 2020 to start to protest. 1,000 people went down to the State Parliament House to protest, and they continued to protest for over a year, up to May of 2021. Just the other day, they were down at State Parliament House 2 days ago, on the 22nd of May 2021. It was about 100 people from this area went to State Parliament House to protest. And you can see that footage. Mr Jeff O'Toole, who's the best reporter in Australia, that man needs to be put in charge of Channel 7 immediately.
So I'm here with Chris, who is outraged about the dumping of this toxic soil. Thank you for joining me. This is going to harm agriculture and affect the community greatly, won't it?
Yes, it will. There's potentially 3 million tonnes of highly toxic contaminated soil that will be coming into our community or another community that will potentially ruin a food bowl in Victoria.
It certainly will. A lot of food sources will be affected, and people are really concerned about this, and rightfully so, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. You saw today with the turnout that we had, just how many people are concerned. You know, this is a small group for us. We're a genuine community group that are fighting and opposing this.
That's brilliant, and there's been many efforts made. You have had regular meetings out there in the area, and what has been the response from some of the members of the community?
So the members of the community are all totally opposed to this. We've been getting a lot of people joining our community groups. The one thing that we're really missing here is the engagement from our local member.
It's putrid the way it's been handled, and people haven't been adequately consulted about this prior. Have they?
Absolutely no community consultation has taken place on the Sunbury and Buller project.
It's very callous the way it's been handled, very disrespectful. Would you agree?
Definitely. The Bacchus Marsh community have been fighting this from day one. We've been fighting this from day one that we found out.
So joining me is Lorraine. How do you feel about the dumping of the toxic soil?
It's absolutely disgraceful. They should take the safe option rather than the cheap option. It shouldn't be dumped anywhere near any community, any residential areas, schools, nothing. It is a big country. I'm sure they could find somewhere that's a much safer option than near communities.
Certainly, it's a crime against humanity and the environment. How do you feel about the farmers who will be greatly affected by this?
Absolutely distraught for them. It's terrible. Once again, like Bacchus Marsh, that is the food bowl of Victoria, all the food that everyone in Melbourne eats comes from there. It's just, it's terrible to think of that the food is going to be poisoned. We know that the PFAS can't actually be destroyed. Transurban have declared that they will treat it. It is an untreatable chemical. Over in Europe, it's been found that it actually causes birth defects in unborn babies. It's something that's not been mentioned here, but it's absolutely vital. This dust will spread across the communities of Goonawarra into Sunbury, and unborn children in those areas will be born with birth defects. These people know that, and they're ignoring it. We've been totally betrayed by our local parliamentarian, Josh Bull, who hasn't even come out, and he will not address emails or come and speak to us at all. We've been totally betrayed by the government and our local constituent, and it's deplorable, really is.
Joining me is Moira. What are your thoughts on the dumping of this toxic soil? How does it make you feel?
As a mother of four, it makes me feel incredibly angry. The Labor Party says they're the party of the workers, the party of the little people, but they're not. They stomp all over our rights. They stomp all over our basic human rights to a healthy living environment. They say they care. They say that other people don't care, and they're just liars. They're so two-faced. I don't know what Labor have become in the last 30 years, but they're certainly not the Labor that they used to be, not the Labor that my parents grew up with, that's for sure, and that I thought, not who I thought they were growing up in a Labor family. And I'm done with them personally, because they just dump everything that they don't want to deal with. They dump it in their safe seats, and they don't care about the health impacts for their people. I just spoke to a lady who's got cancer, and she said, I tried to write to the MP and say that, even the dust from that is going to kill me. And they don't care. They know about it. They know all of it. And they try and hide behind the EPA. The EPA is useless. They've been shown to be useless in court and corrupt, in my opinion. I think they cannot possibly be that incompetent. It looks to me to be deliberate. I'm shocked and horrified by the state of Victoria, and it's just terrifying that we have a Labor majority blocks in both houses. This is going to be a terrible 4 years for Victoria. It's going to ruin us.
It certainly will. The extent of the damage will be extreme. Once you stay silent, that's virtually giving them the approval to harm nature and the people, isn't it?
That's right. And where are the Greens? Where are the Greens who lecture us all endlessly about the environment? All they want is their slush fund for climate change credits. When it comes to real soil, real trees, real pollution, literally on the ground, in the ground pollution, they are nowhere to be seen. Useless. All they care about is trading votes up there in that place for seats with Labor. I find them all disgusting.
So do I. Thank you for standing up for the people. Very honourable, your actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
So I'm here with Bernie Finn, MP. Now, a lot of the people are disgusted about this dumping of the toxic soil. What's your stance on how this is being handled?
Well, I'm equally disgusted. I live in the community that's going to have this stuff dumped on them, and I think it's just outrageous that any government would put the profits of a multinational company ahead of the health and welfare of people in our community. The stuff that they're dumping here, or they're going to dump here, is poisonous, it's cancer-causing, and when we have a cancer cluster in 10, 15, 20 years, Dan Andrews will be gone, well gone by that stage. He doesn't really care. So, what we need to do now is to fight like hell, like we've never fought before, to stop this thing.
We certainly do. It poses a very serious threat to future generations. The agricultural industry and farmers are very disgusted about this, and rightfully so, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. They have every right to be, because their animals are going to be under threat. The waterways are under threat. The soil is under threat. You know, this stuff that they're going to be dumping here, it threatens just about every form of life that we know. And for a government to be involved in doing that to its own people is criminal. And I use that word advisedly. I think it is criminal.
It certainly is. And
He needs to be made the CEO of Channel 7 immediately. Now, what Mr O'Toole showed, the people, interviewed the people there, including a state politician, a Liberal politician, Bernie Finn, and Bernie Finn admitted that what they were doing down there at Bacchus Marsh is criminal. So what I want Bernie Finn to help us and all the politicians in the Victorian State Parliament and help instruct the police, get them to instruct the police to go and jail this Josh Bull and all the politicians who voted for this dumping of this industrial chemical PFAS down in Bacchus Marsh. Now, that bit is criminal, but I'll tell you what is the biggest criminal part of the whole thing is that area is the food bowl. That area is the major food growing area of Victoria. It is the major food bowl of Victoria. And that is the most criminal part of the whole thing. Because what that means is that they could have dumped that toxic waste anywhere. They could have dumped that toxic soil anywhere. They could have dumped it anywhere, any secure facility out in the bush or out in the desert or anywhere like that. They could have dumped it anywhere, any secure facility in the middle of the desert, in the middle of Australia. But no, they decided, those politicians like this criminal here decided to dump all that toxic soil, all that toxic waste in the food growing area, the major food bowl, the major food growing area of Victoria. Now that tells me they're willing to kill Victorians, kill their food supply, poison their water, poison their food supply, poison their soil, and they've been doing this for over a year. They decided deliberately for over a year, and they're still open to doing it. They're still open to doing it, to dumping that toxic soil in the major food growing region of Victoria. There's orchards out there, there's hundreds of orchards, there's farms with animals, there's all sorts of things being grown out there, food for you to eat, the 6.4 million Victorian people. And this is like, we're talking about genocidal factors here in the Commonwealth law, the charges that I listed for arrest warrants for these criminals, all the charges in the Commonwealth law under the Crimes Act 1900, the Crimes Act 1914, and the Commonwealth Criminal Code Act 1995. Stop being nice about this. Everybody is too nice about it. They're too nice about it. Okay? These murderers in the state Victorian Parliament want to kill the people of Victoria by doing this. It is absolutely disgusting, and I want everybody in Victoria and the state Parliament, Bernie Finn, you can help us. You can tell the police to jail these criminals, jail these political criminals for doing this. Otherwise, you can go to prison as well. Stop being nice about it. Let's get rid of these 110 state politicians in the Victorian Parliament, and they have to go to jail for this, because this is absolutely criminal. We need to speak long and strong and loud about getting rid of these state politicians, these state politicians who are doing this, and any federal politicians out there in Victoria or across the country who agree with this, who have said nothing, stayed silent, absolutely nothing said by any of them except one state politician in the Victorian Parliament about this disgusting proposed genocide against genocidal factors and crimes against humanity against the people, the 6.4 million people of Victoria. Now this is cold-hearted, deliberate and calculated, because it's been going on for over a year. Over 1 year. And they want to poison that water, poison that soil, destroy all the crops out there, destroy all the orchards out there, destroy all the horticultural areas out there in this region, destroy all the farms, all the beef farms, sheep farms, and that's where your food, this is where the majority of the Victorian food is grown and supplied. It comes from this region. Up to 500 truckloads of this toxic filth, of this disgusting putrid, as Jeff O'Toole describes it, disgusting putrid toxic soil, toxic filth that they want to dump in this old coal mine, in this food growing region, the major food bowl area of Victoria. So let's get action on this, and let's get fired up about this, and let's stop it, and let's get these criminals arrested. Get these criminals arrested so the arrest warrant charges, the charges arrest warrant today being issued, Josh Bull and all the others for this disgusting genocidal factors going on down in this region, in this area. Thank you.